She seems so normal.
If I could have chosen a different path now, I would have.
What got Isabella Guzman into the state hospital was not normal. She killed her mother, stabbed her 79 times.
I'm not mentally ill anymore. I'm not a danger to myself or others.
TikTok has a funny way of bringing up old relics from the past and turning them into memes, whether that be songs from the 2000s or the revival of Twilight. This is kind of what happened with the case of Isabella Guzman, an 18-year-old girl who was found guilty of murdering her mom all the way back in 2013. Videos of her during her trial started to get popular on TikTok when users would duet the videos and make fun of the way she acted during her trial, which was really weird. But behind these weird videos was a real-life murder that was so brutal, it kinda shocked me to see people actually making light of it on social media. Today, we're going to explore the case of Isabel Guzman and how her behavior made her TikTok famous years later. Isabella grew up in Aurora, Colorado, and lived with her mom and stepdad. Her parents got divorced when she was a kid, but they were still civil after they separated, even buying a photography studio together when they did portraits. Yeonmi Hoi, Isabella's mother, would sometimes work 12 hours a day to make ends meet, and many people saw her as a really hardworking lady. Despite this, Isabella was never grateful for anything her mom did or how hard she worked to support her. Those that knew the family knew Isabella was always kind of troubled and had a very mischievous side to her. She hated school, and even though her grades weren't bad, they were nothing to write home about. She ended up dropping out when she turned 18, just a few weeks before her final exams. Her parents were disappointed to say the least when she did this, especially when she was so close to graduation. All those years of her suffering through school were literally wasted. Isabella's behavior only got worse when her mom remarried to a man called Ryan Hoi. Isabella resented her mom for replacing her dad, and her behavior towards her mom became so awful that she was sent to live with her dad, Robert Guzman. She ended up moving back in with her mom and Ryan, but they continued to have a bad relationship. In the weeks leading up to the murder, Isabella's disrespect towards her mom got really bad until one day, everything exploded. During a bad fight, Isabella yelled and spit in her mom's face. Ryan told police that his wife was terrified of Isabella after this fight, and matters were only made worse when the next day, Yeonmi showed him an email Isabella sent her during the night, which said, "You will pay." With everything Isabella was doing and her escalating violence towards her mom, they made the decision to call the cops. The cops came to check on the family and spoke to both Isabella and her mom. They warned Isabella that now she was 18, her mom and stepdad could legally kick her out of the house and make her homeless, which would be a good reason for her to fix her behavior. Isabella didn't have much to say to the cops, and after they left, she went up to her room and stayed there all night. You may be thinking that this girl sounds like a total nightmare to have in your house, and I agree. Living with Isabella and her behavior sounds exhausting, but according to Isabella, there was more to the story. Yeonmi and Ryan were both Jehovah's Witnesses, a branch of Christianity that's really strict and doesn't celebrate any holidays, including Christmas or birthdays. Isabella claims that she was abused by her parents when she was a kid, and this is why she was so disrespectful towards them. She also claims that the abuse got way worse after she decided she didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore when she was 14 years old. Even though Yeonmi and Ryan were definitely Jehovah's Witnesses, no one has been able to say whether or not they did abuse Isabella as a child. After police left, Yeonmi decided to go to work for the rest of the day and put some space between her and Isabella. Ryan stayed at home with his stepdaughter, who didn't come out of her room again until around 8:30 that evening. Yeonmi came home from work at 9:30 p.m. and told her husband she was going to take a shower. When she went upstairs, Ryan stayed in the living room watching TV and eating the McDonald's she brought home for him. Only a few minutes later, Ryan heard thumping and banging coming from the upstairs bathroom and Yeonmi calling out for him. When he went to investigate, he saw Isabella in the bathroom with her mom before she slammed the door in his face. Ryan tried as hard as he could to get into the bathroom, but Isabella locked the door. He knew straight away that his wife was in danger. He ran to get his cell phone and called the cops. When he went back upstairs, a pool of blood was leaking out from under the bathroom door. Yeonmi had stopped screaming, and he heard her last words, "Jehovah." which is their name for God. What happened next sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. Isabella opened the bathroom door. She was holding a knife and covered in blood. She calmly walked past Ryan as if he wasn't even there and left the house. It was clear that Yeonmi was dead when Ryan got into the bathroom, but he still tried to perform CPR until the emergency services arrived. Yeonmi was pronounced dead at the scene, but she'd been stabbed a total of 79 times all over her face and neck. There was also a baseball bat in the bathroom, and it looked like Isabella had beaten her mom with it before or after she stabbed her. By the time the cops and paramedics arrived, Isabella was nowhere to be found, which worried everybody since she'd left the house with the knife she'd just used to murder her mom with. They tried to find her by tracking her cell phone, but this didn't work out since her phone was turned off. Luckily, Isabella was found in a parking garage the next day and arrested after someone saw her there and tipped them off. Isabella was charged with first-degree murder, and because she was 18, she was tried as an adult. This meant she could be given the death penalty. However, this is where things got even wilder. Isabella was found innocent. Well, okay, not totally innocent. During her trial, Isabella was assessed by a doctor who diagnosed her with schizophrenia, a mental illness that can cause people to hallucinate and have delusions. According to the doctor, Isabella didn't believe that it was her mom she was killing, that she was actually a woman called Cecilia, and she had to kill her to save the world. This evidence made it possible for Isabella to plead innocent by reason of insanity, which means she was so mentally unwell when she committed her crime that she didn't know right from wrong. The court accepted her plea, which almost never happens, and she was sent to a psychiatric hospital for proper treatment of her mental illness. Now we need to talk about what happened that turned this 8-year-old case into a viral trend on TikTok. Do you guys remember that song Sweet But Psycho by Ava Max? When that song came out in 2018, it got popular really quickly. Not only was it a super catchy song, but it had lyrics that were, let's say, a little controversial. Ava Max was actually called out on the song for glamorizing mental illness by saying that it's okay to be psycho as long as you're sweet. Well, some users on TikTok took the meaning behind the song and started applying it to Isabella. During her trial, Isabella behaved pretty strangely, which makes sense now that we know she was living with untreated schizophrenia. A lot of the time, she would stare straight at the cameras in the courtroom and make faces where it almost looked like she was having fun at her own trial. People started taking clips of her making faces and gestures and put "Sweet But Psycho" over the top of it. This really divided TikTok. Some people saw it as harmless and they could totally appreciate Isabella's appearance and at the same time condemn her actions. But a lot more people really didn't like this trend since it seemed like people were trying to overlook what Isabella did just because she's pretty. Not only that, but making fun of her behavior when she was mentally ill added to the stigma around mental illness. A lot of people were called out, especially on Twitter, for making these videos, and eventually the trend died down again. To be honest, I'm glad this trend didn't last long, and looking at the videos some people made, it was really gross. It's not okay to excuse someone's actions just because they're good looking or charming. On the flip side, it's also really insensitive to make fun of someone in a mental health crisis. We need to discourage making content like this when it does so much harm to people who are mentally ill. Since she was sent to a psychiatric hospital, not much has been heard from Isabella. That was until November 2020. Isabella did an interview for the first time since she was sentenced and said she feels ready to rejoin society. She claims that she is no longer mentally ill after years of treatment and medication. When asked about the day she took her mom's life, Isabella said, "That wasn't me." And now that she feels mentally stable, she is no longer a danger to herself or others. That isn't the only reason Isabella wants to leave the hospital. In 2015, it was reported that she was assaulted 3 times by a hospital employee and is now trying to have him arrested and held accountable for abusing her. Right now, there hasn't been an update on whether or not the employee is being prosecuted, and there is no update on whether Isabella will be released anytime soon. This case is definitely a heavy one, guys. But I definitely think it's important to talk about these things, especially when social media is involved. Did you guys ever see any of the TikTok videos about Isabella? What did you think when you saw them? I can't wait to read your thoughts and discussions down in the comments below. Thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all future videos. Bye!